Good morning, Shabbat Shalom. I have prepared a sermon for this morning, but I just thought I'll share some stories with you instead. And before I do, one of the great storytellers and someone who has been a beacon within the Jewish community and really a huge ambassador for the Jewish world was the late Rabbi Jonathan Sacks. Interestingly enough, Jonathan was teaching me for a very short while Talmud when I was at Aliyah College. And whilst we were not close friends, nevertheless, we had a cordial relationship. And there have been a lot of tributes paid to Jonathan, and quite rightly and justifiably, because he was perhaps the 21st century's most incredible ambassador to the world and to the Jewish world. Indeed, as I'm a trustee of the Littman Foundation, and one of our responsibilities is to work closely and support the Littman Library, we are in the process of publishing a book, or an interfaith book, in which some of the writings of Jonathan will be featured. And obviously it's a huge honor to us, to the Littman Library, to the Littman Foundation to be associated. It is going to be, I hope and pray, a book worthwhile reading. We certainly consider it, but it's worthwhile reading and publishing. And of course, to reiterate Jonathan Sacks's words and thoughts. I've been reading a lot of tributes to Jonathan, and we were on first name terms, so whilst not close friends. Perhaps the best one, if I may publicize it, was the Times obituary, which really summed up both the controversy as well as his greatness. The controversy with regards to having left Leobeck College teaching because of its association with the Reform and Liberal movement, and also he did not attend Hugo Green's funeral, and this created difficulty as far as the Jewish community was concerned. My greatest regret is that Jonathan has not visited the Czech Scrolls Museum, but I'm very pleased to say that the current Chief Rabbi, Ephraim Mervis, has accepted the invitation of the MSD and my own invitation, and visited the museum well before this lockdown. The reason why I've abandoned the sermon for this morning, whilst it is very appropriate and it deals with the life of Sarah and Abraham, there are two events which turned me towards wanting to share a couple of stories with you. One is that on the 9th of November, so just a few days ago, was the anniversary of Kristallnacht, the night that the Jews were attacked. The Jews of Germany, Austria, and the Sudetenland were attacked on the 9th of November 1938, where the Nazis unleashed a hugely popular pogrom that murdered nearly 100 Jews and injured thousands. The excuse for this pogrom was that a young Jewish student in Paris, Herschel Greenspan, had heard that his parents had been expelled from Germany to Poland, but they were now stuck in no man's land, unable to enter Poland, and because, of course, Poland was then divided between Germany and what was then the Soviet Union. In desperation, Greenspan shot a Nazi diplomat in Paris, and the news came as the Nazi leaders were convened in Munich, and Goebbels immediately called on all Germans to purge Germany of the Jews, and initiated a horrific medieval pogrom to purge Germany of what he called as Jewish swine. That's what he called the Jews. And of course, then in 1942, the decision was made for the final solution at Wannsee Conference to murder the Jews of Europe. And of course, sadly, we know what has happened. I don't know how many of you have been following the inquiry about the memorial center and the memorial to be built to the Holocaust next to Parliament. I would suggest that you look at you search it in YouTube, and you will see the unfolding of the inquiry. So the horrific story of the murder of 6 million Jews, and the horrific story of murdering gypsies and disabled people and gays during the Nazi period is something that we need to remember, and at the same time realize that times have changed. Times have changed for the Jewish population, although gypsies still are today persecuted in some countries, or they don't feel totally safe. Certainly the world has changed with regard to LGBT and gays, and we are much more open, thankfully, to all the people that were considered to be, as it were, below humanity, which was a most unbelievable thing to have happened to the people. So I'm thankful and grateful that we live in a better world, that we live in a world in which our expressions, whichever they are, can be freely passed on from us to next generation and amongst us. The second story which I wanted to share with you, which is connected to the Second World War, is the story of Sigmund Freud, who, following the Anschluss of Austria, he called a meeting into his house of all the psychoanalysts, and he sat them down and he told them a story. And the story is a very familiar story to all Jews. It is the story of Yochanan ben Zakkai, who was in Jerusalem in the year 70, when Jerusalem was destroyed by the Romans. Not only Jerusalem itself, but the temple was destroyed. And Yochanan ben Zakkai has asked his pupils to put him into a coffin and to smuggle him out from the walls of Jerusalem to outside the walls of Jerusalem. And when following this, he managed to get to the leader of the Romans, Vespasian, and when he came to see him, he called him my emperor. And Vespasian looked up and he said, "No, I'm not your emperor. I'm just the leader of the army that is attacking and will conquer Jerusalem." And as he was saying this, the door opened and a messenger came from Rome who said, "Caesar died, and now you are the Caesar, you are the emperor." So Vespasian looked at Yochanan ben Zakkai, and he said, it's like in any good story, he said, "What are your wishes now that you predicted that I am going to be the emperor?" And Yochanan ben Zakkai asked for a very modest reward. He asked to go to Yavne and to establish a Jewish school, to establish an educational center to teach Judaism. And what he has actually done, he has built the Judaism that we have today. If it hadn't been for Yochanan ben Zakkai, if it hadn't been the prediction, if it hadn't been for Vespasian, it would be a different type of Judaism that we would have, if at all. And so Yochanan ben Zakkai has established the Jewish Education Center to produce teachers, to produce rabbis, and to make sure that Judaism survives. And we are here today, 21st century, having undergone and having experienced all that has happened, from Abraham to modern times, from Abraham and Sarah, who started monotheism, who started the belief and the trust in one God. We are now here to, as the proverbial says, tell the tale. And so we need to be full of hope and optimism as we go beyond the COVID-19. And as our Prime Minister said, the bugle, and we sounded the shofar, let's hope that whether the vaccine will work 100% or 90%, whatever the situation is, I think we need to put ourselves into an optimistic mind that things will work out. And they have always worked out, and they will work out. And on that,
you didn't finish the story.
And as far as Freud is concerned, he turned to his fellow psychoanalysts and he said, "Pack your bags and go all over the world and spread the message. Spread the message of the strength, the power of psychoanalysis." And of course, today we know the power of psychoanalysis. And if you go to Mansfield Gardens when things will allow, there is the Freud Museum. And of course, there is a psychoanalytical society in Maida Vale. And they are doing a good job. And all of the analysts around the world are doing good jobs to help people to overcome and to be able to go on living and be part of the society. So Freud came to London, many went to America, and so psychoanalysis has developed and worked, and it's all around the world. So let us put a little bit of hope and emotion to it, to realize that as we started with Abraham and Sarah, we will continue. Amen.